Hello everybody, D-Skull here for our very first Let's Play Analysis, a new segment in which I take a more analytical look at a game I finished in this channel. And this week's game is of course Five Nights at Freddy's. Despite only being released in this year, Five Nights at Freddy's became a household name for many PC gamers. Word of mouth quickly began to spread and it gathered the reputation as one of the scariest games ever made. But is it? The game peaked very early in popularity, and with that came many criticisms. Internet gamers and bloggers criticized the game of being nothing more than a jump scare fest, and thus not actually scary. Others would go so far as to say the game is not a horror game at all. So what is it? Is Five Nights at Freddy's a good horror game? Well, if you've seen my playthrough, you already know how I feel about the game, but nevertheless, let's take a look at Five Nights at Freddy's. Now, I know many people will disagree with me when I say this, but I think jump scares are scary. I mean, don't get me wrong, I get where people are coming from with the notion that loud noises are not scary, because, they're not. I mean, and many cheap horror films and indie games tend to overuse the gimmick to the point of, well, pointlessness. But that shouldn't mean that a jump scare can't be scary at all. You see, each storytelling medium must utilize its strengths to terrify its viewers, or in the case of games, gamers. For books or any written work of fiction, such as a creepypasta, they use well-structured paragraphs that not only inform the reader of the situation, the setting, and the characters, but also to create tension and the feeling as if the reader was actually there. This leads us to our first way to scare the audience, which is of course investment or immersion. We have to be invested in what's going on, otherwise there's no possible way we'd be scared of anything that happens throughout the story. Games don't always have to rely on well thought out plots in order to immerse the player. The gameplay just has to be good, and the atmosphere has to be well kept in order for us to feel the horror feel. I'm not saying that games don't have to try hard to immerse the player, because they do. It's just that compared to other mediums, games don't have to rely on telling a story in order to give you a good experience. And of course, with immersion comes the second thing we need in order to terrify the audience: the feeling of danger. Nothing is more frightening than the feeling that your life is at stake. In fact, that's where most tensions lie. Whenever a suspenseful moment occurs in a horror film, it's usually a life or death scenario, or something that could lead up to a life or death scenario. This is why we're afraid of the unknown, because we fear for our safety. We don't know if we can trust whatever it is that is hidden in the darkness. And that's where the jump scare comes in. No matter how much people say jump scares are not scary, they are quite effective, and there is a difference between a well-done jump scare and a lazy one. Most jump scares nowadays tend to rely on a little fake-out trick. This usually involves a character wandering off alone when suddenly someone grabs him, and the jump scare music kicks in, and we realized, oh, it's just the character's friend and nothing more. Every goddamn time. Now, jump scares, while not always necessary for a movie to be scary, can certainly enhance the experience. And this is coming from someone who has never really been scared of jump scares in movies. Well, except for one, Insidious. James Wan, you cunning bastard. I mean, this guy knows how to scare me with a jump scare. I mean, no jump scare in any other movie has haunted me more than the one in that film. The only jump scare that has actually ever made me scream. Literally. But like I said before, in order to scare someone, that viewer must be invested in the story, and they must feel as if their lives were in danger. This is what the jump scare provides, as human beings, we usually guide ourselves by what we see and what we hear. The loud noise alerts us, while the image shown on the screen gives us a bit of a creepy vibe, and with that, our mind believes, just for a split second, that we are truly in peril. So what does that have to do with Five Nights at Freddy's, I hear you ask? Well, you see, Five Nights at Freddy's warrants jump scares more so than any other game because the animatronics in the game are just images on a screen, both literally and figuratively speaking. None of them have any animation until they actually catch you, so it's kind of hard to be scared by Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, or Freddy until they actually do something. Now don't get me wrong, I was pretty freaked out during my initial playthrough of the game, but I wasn't truly terrified until that fateful moment when... Oh my god. Where the fuck is the duck? Ah! Fuck me, man! Fucking bunny motherfucker! The atmosphere and the mere fact that I have to follow Bonnie and Chica and knowing that they were heading my way was enough build up for the jump scares. So to me, the jump scares in Five Nights at Freddy's are very well done and effective. And also, contrary to popular belief, I don't think the game overuses jump scares. In fact, I would even argue that Slender uses jump scares more than Five Nights at Freddy's. While the game does rely on loud noises to deliver its scares, they don't happen all that often until after the second or third night. Mostly because the game has become more difficult, meaning that the animatronics will come at you faster than before, and thus the jump scare noise, the one that occurs whenever they're at your door or when they get you, will most likely happen more often. And by that time, the game has become more difficult and scary. So to me, while the game is sort of a jump scare fest by that point, the earlier half of the game has a lot more tension, better build up, and in fact, it's just scarier. Others say that the game is not a horror game, but you already know my opinion on that. Oh god. But you know what? Fuck that guy. Fuck that asshole who says that this game is not a horror game. Fuck you. Whoever you are, fuck you, because you are dead wrong. The atmosphere in Five Nights at Freddy's is really no different from that of any other horror game. The game does build up its scares, and it creates a lot of good tension, it has great atmosphere, and the story, all of that, in my opinion, makes the game qualify as a horror game, and a damn good one, especially thanks to its very different way of dealing with horror. Unlike Slender, or any traditional indie horror game, Five Nights at Freddy's doesn't allow you to freely roam the area and try to hide or run away from the monsters, but instead has you waiting for the monsters to appear. Which is oddly fitting when you take the setting into consideration. The best real-life comparison I can think of to the gameplay is, imagine you're a little kid, hiding under your blanket because you know the boogeyman is coming your way. You hear the footsteps just a couple of inches away from you, and you peek out to see if he's really there. That is exactly what Five Nights at Freddy's feels like. When I played this game, I felt like a little kid again, hiding from whatever horrible creature was lurking under my bed or inside my closet. And there's nothing you can do, especially since you can't run away. You can only hide under your blankets and hope that you're safe, that you are fast enough, that the monster hasn't seen you. What? 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 Why can't I close the door? What happened? Oh my god, I don't like this. I don't like this. Why can't I close the door? Why can't I close the door? Why is that a thing? Why is that a thing? Which is why I personally love this game. The gameplay is so unique in both concept and practice. However, the gameplay is probably the reason why the game gets kind of old pretty quickly. Now, horror games in general tend to cease being scary the more you play through them. For instance, the Resident Evil remake scared the shit out of me when I played it, but the more times I beat the game, the less scary it became with each playthrough. Because not only did I know what to expect, but I knew exactly how to beat it. Five Nights at Freddy's has you in the same area throughout the entire game, and with time, you become more accustomed to the atmosphere. Now, this is different from the Resident Evil remake, because while that game takes place in a single setting, aka the mansion is abnormally huge, with dozens of rooms, and every time you enter a new room, the atmosphere resets because you don't know what the room has in store for you. Not to mention that some rooms must be entered more than once in order for the scare to happen, so even if you've entered once, you don't know what to expect anyway. Now, if you've seen my playthrough, you know I became less frightened with the game probably around the third or fourth night. I like to move it. I like to move it. I like to move it. Come on, sing with me, Freddy. I like to move it. I like to move it. So, I'd say apart from the fact that the game felt more like a challenge at that point, I had also played the game, finishing the video at the end of every night, which gave me a little bit more time to collect my thoughts for the next video. Unlike other YouTubers who actually tried to beat the game in one go. Which of course meant that by the time they hit the second or fourth night, they were a little bit more frightened about the game than I was. But regardless of this, Five Nights at Freddy's is still a very inventive horror game. I was scared through the beginning and it felt like a challenge by the end. It was a fun experience all throughout, and I can definitely see why people considered it one of the best games ever made, as well as why some people find the game highly overrated. I guess I'm somewhere in between. I don't think it's the scariest game I've ever played, but I do think it deserves a lot of praise. But anyway, that's it for our first Let's Play analysis. If you guys enjoyed this video, please let me know in the comment section below, or simply leave a like. If you'd like for me to continue this Let's Play analysis, just, leave more comments in the comment section below. Anyway, this has been D-Skull Gaming, and I'll see you guys next time.